Rules of origin. Background. What are rules of origin? Rules of origin are laws, regulations, and procedures used for ascertaining the nationality of imported products. ROU are important for many reasons, including determining the admissibility of imported goods, assessing duty rates, country of origin marking, applying tariff quotas, enforcing U.S. trade laws, establishing eligibility for preferential programs and free trade agreements (FTAs), and collecting trade statistics. Determining origin is relatively straightforward if all of a product's raw materials and parts are manufactured and assembled in one country. However, in today's global economy, parts of manufactured goods to be assembled into products such as automobiles, computers, or clothing, often come from many countries. This can make determining origin a complex process. Non-preferential ROU apply to imports from all countries with which the importing country has normal trade relations (NTR), and are consistent with World Trade Organization (WTO) obligations. For the United States, NTR applies to all WTO members, except those that have an FTA with the United States or receive another kind of U.S. preferential trade treatment. Non-preferential ROU are used to assess tariffs, enforce trade laws e.g., anti-dumping and countervailing duties, collect statistics, and for other purposes. For non-preferential ROU, there is no specific U.S. law or legislative methodology that specifically defines the term country of origin. Instead, U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP) administers non-preferential rules based on a body of CBP regulations, prior agency interpretations, and court decisions. When the country of origin is in doubt, an importer may apply to CBP for an advance customs ruling. Preferential ROU apply to FTAs such as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement (USMCA) and certain non-reciprocal trade preferences, like the African Growth and Opportunity Act (AGOA) and the Generalized System of Preferences (GSP). Preferential ROU are important because they ensure only eligible trading partners receive the tariff benefits of the special program or FTA. Some preferential ROU may also be crafted to limit the impact of these programs on import-sensitive industries. They are unique to each special trade program or FTA. Preferential ROU in FTAs are negotiated by the parties to the agreement and approved by Congress as part of the FTA implementing legislation. For special U.S. trade programs like AGOA and GSP, they are drafted and approved by Congress. Enforcement. CBP interprets, administers, and enforces rules of origin, as well as country of origin labeling, tariff classification, customs valuation, and many other laws relating to U.S. imports. International commitments. The 1994 WTO Agreement on Rules of Origin requires WTO members not to use ROU to disrupt trade, to apply ROU in a consistent, transparent, non-discriminatory, and reasonable manner, and to notify other members about any rule changes. The WTO agreement also set up an ongoing program to harmonize non-preferential rules, with negotiations conducted by a WTO Rules of Origin Committee and a technical committee under the World Customs Organization (WCO). The WCO also facilitates trade by providing assistance to customs administrations worldwide on interpreting ROU and other technical issues. Rules of origin in FTAs. ROU in FTAs generally stipulate how much manufacturing must come from within the FTA region in order to receive trade benefits, e.g., duty-free treatment. Although FTAs are individually negotiated, there are many common elements across agreements. Originating goods. In order to receive the benefits of an FTA, imported products must originate in one of the partner countries by satisfying one of three conditions. They must be, 1 grown, harvested, or fished in the FTA region, 2 produced in the FTA region using only materials made in the FTA region, or 3 produced in the FTA region with non-FTA country components while meeting additional product-specific ROU requirements. Specific rules of origin. Each U.S. FTA has a chapter containing general ROU provisions, combined with an annex that lists ROU for individual products. These product-specific ROU generally take one of three forms, see Figure 2. Change of tariff classification or tariff shift rules require that a product be substantially transformed as illustrated by a change in its harmonized tariff schedule. HTS tariff classification. The level of change required varies from product to product. One example of a tariff shift rule is the so-called yarn forward rule for textiles and apparel. Yarn forward means that all yarn and fabric used to make a textile or apparel product must be formed in the FTA region, see below. A regional value content (RVC) rule requires that a minimum percentage of the product be produced in the FTA region. Value can be calculated in various ways, such as building down from the value of the finished product or building up from the value of the originating materials, as follows. Build-up method calculations add together the costs originating in the FTA region, including factory, parts, labor, insurance, packing, and transportation, duties, taxes, customs brokerage fees, and waste, spoilage of production material. Build-down method calculations subtract the non-originating costs, see individual costs above, from the adjusted value of the finished project. Net cost method calculations capture the direct manufacturing costs per unit, such as factory labor, materials, and direct overhead. Technical rules require that some kind of manufacturing or processing operation be conducted in the FTA region for the product to originate. For example, chemical reactions, purification, deliberately controlled mixing and blending, or specifically defined changes in particle size confer origin of certain chemicals and related products. Cumulation. Cumulation means that producers in FTA countries may manufacture goods from parts originating in more than one FTA country and the end product will still receive duty-free FTA status. For example, in USMCA, a product can be produced in the territory of one or more of the parties, as long as any of the parts not coming from the region non-originating materials undergo a tariff classification change. The end product must also meet any regional value content requirement, and any other applicable RU requirements. FTA RU for key sectors. Since RU are negotiated industry by industry, some critics assert that negotiators use them to shield import-sensitive industries or products from the effects of an FTA. Supporters contend that these measures are important for reducing FTA opposition from adversely affected industries, thus making its enactment more politically feasible. Two particularly sensitive sectors for the United States are the textile and automobile industries, which have dutiable rates from non-FTA partners as high as 32% for certain apparel products and 25% for light-duty trucks. Textiles and apparel, most bilateral and regional FTAs negotiated by the United States over the past 2 decades, beginning with the North America Free Trade Agreement (NAFTA), have included the yarn forward rule for most textile and apparel products. This requires that in order to receive the tariff-free benefits of an FTA, although fibers may be produced in any country, all subsequent manufacture, including spinning into yarn, weaving or knitting, dyeing, printing, finishing, cutting and sewing, or other assembly into a finished garment or textile product must take place in one of the FTA partners. Depending on the product, some apparel must comply with a fiber forward rule, more restrictive, or a fabric forward rule, more liberal. Motor vehicles and parts. As with textiles and apparel, RU for cars, trucks, and auto parts in FTAs are designed to prevent vehicle and parts manufacturers in non-FTA countries from taking advantage of tariff reductions available to FTA partners. RU for autos and parts in US FTAs generally use a regional value content (RVC) approach. NAFTA had a RVC requirement for automotive products at 62.5%, which reflected the already integrated North American auto market at the time of negotiation. USMCA, which replaced NAFTA, increases the RVC requirement for automotive products to 75% and also includes a labor value content (LVC) requirement that was not in NAFTA. The LVC requirement stipulates that 40 to 45% of auto content be made by workers earning more than $16 per hour. RU in USMCA. The biggest differences between NAFTA and USMCA RU are the increase of the RVC requirement and addition of a LVC requirement for automotive products. Together, these requirements may cause a shift in supply chains for the North American auto industry as manufacturers may use more U.S.-produced parts and employ U.S. workers in order to meet the RU requirements. It is also the first time that a labor wage component is included in the RU of any US FTAs. This raises questions on how the requirement will be enforced and whether similar LVC requirements will be included in future US FTAs.